Hi everyone, Alex Dare from IT Services. I am Senior Business Analyst and I'm also the product manager, I suppose we can call myself, of the MyUon mobile platform. So I just wanted to give you today a bit of an overview of the solution that we're planning on rolling out to help support the VC's mandate for next year for attendance monitoring for semester 1 for 1,000 courses, level courses for commencing students. So I guess just setting the scene, what is attendance monitoring? The recording and reporting of students' attendance. As I said, the target group is 1,000 level courses for students commencing next year. There's obviously lots of courses that already have a mandatory attendance requirement for different parts of that course, and you know, typically that might be done with a roll call or whatever at the beginning of the session. The idea for the rollout of this solution is that we move away from that manual recording of attendance and move to a less intrusive, less manual intervention and more automated solution, but also having I guess the technologies in place to verify that actually the student did actually turn up, and also have the ability to handle workarounds or overrides in the event that the student can't check themselves in. So the solution that we're using is as I say, it's being delivered as part of the MyUon platform. So I'm not sure, but hopefully some of you guys have downloaded the MyUon app or looked at it on the web. And obviously, so there's a student profile and a staff profile. With the attendance piece, there is a student attendance piece, and there's also a lecturer attendance piece. So the lecturer attendance piece or check-in piece is I guess the ability for a lecturer to check in students on their behalf. We're not checking the lecturer in; the lecturer is checking students in. Right. In terms of the validation technologies that are going to be available in solution. It supports geolocation, so lat-long coordinates using your positioning of your device, of your mobile device. We can use Bluetooth beacons, so that involves actually installing Bluetooth beacons in all of the rooms that these classes are being taught in, and we can also support one-time code. So this is where the system gives the lecturer or the academic a code. Academic puts it up on the screen or writes it on the board, and the students enter the code in. Obviously, those different solutions have their advantages and disadvantages, and clearly a code is fairly easy for students to share, even if they're not in the room. So what we can use is a combination of those technologies. So it might be, we might use geo-positioning lat long and a one-time code. So you need to be in the vicinity of the room and enter the code in, or we might use, obviously if we want to go for the next level of accuracy, putting a Bluetooth beacon in the room. You actually need to be within proximity of that beacon in order to check in. So we haven't quite settled on exactly which one of those technologies or which combination of those technologies we're going to roll out with at this point in time. And obviously those decisions need to be made before the start of semester 1. And I'll talk to that in a minute. Obviously, why is UON introducing attendance monitoring? You don't really need me to talk through this. This is the VC has talked to this on more than one occasion now, but clearly there's a link between attendance and student success. And obviously in some courses there's a fitness to practice requirement, and also the attendance insights will be another dimensional metric, obviously, which we can measure student success and ensure student engagement, and I guess feed that into that overall picture of how engaged students are and identifying students at risk and that sort of thing. So in terms of what's in scope and what's out of scope, mandatory attendance monitoring will apply to first year undergraduate students who are commencing in 2020 studying 1,000 level courses, as I said. It doesn't apply to lectures. It applies to small group teaching activities such as tutorials, seminars, lab sessions, and the other 25 different types of contact types. And it's students that are enrolled at Callaghan, Ourimbah, Newcastle city campuses. In terms of not meeting those requirements, students who don't meet those compulsory attendance requirements will be given a CF fail grade for that course. So originally we were thinking it was going to be around the eligibility to sit exams, but that's now been repositioned to be you basically just won't be eligible to pass the course.
It's 80%.
80% attendance. Sorry, is that not on me? Yeah, sorry. In terms of outer scope, at this point in time, students that commenced in 2019 or earlier studying a 1,000 level course, i.e. as an elective or something like that, they will be able to check in, that they will have access. So basically, whoever is enrolled in the course will see the check-in tile. It just won't be a requirement for them in terms of being able to pass the course. But as far as the technology is concerned, it's exactly the same. They can check in the same way as a commencing student, and a academic can check them in on their behalf too. Out of scope, as I already mentioned, lectures will be out of scope. Enabling and ELICOS courses will be out of scope. Fully online courses, like Annika was just talking about, will be out of scope. Postgraduate and international foundation programs. So in terms of the actual student experience now, I was really, really hoping that by today I would be able to give you a live working demo of how this is going to work. We've been having a few challenges. We were trying to pilot this for summer term 1, which commences next week or this week, and there's some challenges with the way summer term 1 is timetabled, because it goes over 2019 and 2020, or commencing summer as it's called now. And in Allocate Plus, the student timetabling system, it runs on 2 different years, odd and even, and we've had some challenges getting everything working to tie these systems up, and that's nothing to do with attendance monitoring, but basically those challenges have delayed us in getting our attendance piece configured, so I can't actually give you, as of today, a live demo on my phone of how it's going to work. But you can kind of see there, hopefully you can see it's a bit blurry, but that's essentially the student check-in experience. They can see for today's date, they've got a number of classes. The top 2 that have got ticks next to them are classes that they've already checked into, and the third one they didn't check into. Essentially, the idea is that a student will be able to see, or they'll get a push notification before the start of a class. The check-in window opens about 5 minutes before the start of the class. From 5 minutes up until 15 minutes after the start of the class, they will be able to check in during that check-in window, and then the check-in window closes and they will no longer be able to check in. As I said, we'll send a push notification, and this is all configuration. We can send a push notification automatically, so students get a reminder pop up on their phone that they've got a class starting, and we can configure it to send multiple reminders. So we could send a reminder 15 minutes before, we could send a reminder right at the start of the class. Exactly the nuances of that, and how many reminders we should send, and how much before the start of the class we should send those reminders. Those finer details are still to be fleshed out, and decisions still to be made. And what we are hoping to do, as I said, was to do a pilot in summer term 1. We're now looking more likely that we won't be able to pilot anything until the new year, into the late summer term, but we definitely will be piloting that. Essentially, the process for checking into a session, as I said, is the student will get the reminder, they'll click on the reminder, it opens this check-in screen, and they click the class that they want to check into. Depending on whether or not they have, if we've enabled the one-time code requirement, then it'll pop up and say, with a little box for them to enter the code in. If we've just gone on Geo or on Beacon, then it'll validate against the beacon if it's a beacon, or it'll just record their location and allow them to check in. If they miss the check-in window, then as I say, they can request a lecturer to check in on their behalf. And you can't quite see it there, but basically they can view their own attendance history, so they can see all of the classes that I've checked into for the last 7 days. The lecturer check-in experience is kind of similar, and as I said, this isn't the lecturer checking in. This is the lecturer checking students in. So you can see in the screenshot there, you can see the students that have already checked in green, the ones that haven't checked in, and the little tick or cross. So basically, the lecturer can check a student in. So the idea with that is, if your phone's flat or you don't have the app, or for whatever reason you can't check yourself in, you can ask the lecturer to check the student in. And in that context, there is no validation required. So the lecturer can check the student in under any circumstances, and can check the student in retrospectively as well. I'm just conscious of time. So I was talking about our summer term one. So as of this morning, this has basically changed. We haven't been able to get this all configured in time for summer one, as I said, because of the challenges with the timetabling system for 19-20 crossover. We're now targeting summer term 2. That was my last slide. And that's my time. Any questions? I'm sure you've got lots of questions.
We'll take a couple of quick questions.
Fire away.
We'll have 5 minutes at the end, so we can do some extra questions. And Claire.
I've got 3, but I'll just keep the one, because I reckon some others might have similar. Adverse circumstances.
Yes.
So if a student can't turn up for valid reasons, and that takes them across that threshold of missing 20%, how's that dealt with?
They would still need to submit an adverse circumstance application as they currently would.
And will that be linked with the app? And therefore, is the app linked to Gradebook? Like, is that an automated process?
Not at this point in time, it's not. So students can record their absence. If they aren't able to check in, they can record that they weren't able to check in and put in a reason. But in terms of if they put in a adverse circumstance application and say, oh yeah, I was sick for 2 weeks and my adverse has been accepted, that doesn't change their attendance. It just, there's no automated process to go, okay, well they didn't, they've got an adverse application and therefore they're now going, that automatically adjusts their attendance, if you know what I mean.
Any other questions? Yes.
So if a student doesn't have a mobile device, they're going to have to contact every lecturer for every class?
No, they can check in if they've got they can check in on a PC or a laptop or whatever.
So that assumes that they have a PC or a laptop in the room with them in the 20-minute check-in window?
Yes.
Okay, what if they don't have a mobile phone or a laptop?
Well, then they will need to ask the lecturer to check in on their behalf.
For every single lesson?
Yeah.
We'll wrap it there. Yes, clearly this is the hot button issue. I will add one thing to the debate. I'm not a big fan of mandatory attendance, but I absolutely agree that high attendance does correlate to success. I've always used attendance monitoring for intervention to find out what's going on and the sorts of follow-ups that we see Annika talk about. So, think of it in this term. It gives us a really good, well, at least a start of being able to monitor that. Okay, great. Thanks very much.
And if you're running this course over summer term 2, we'll probably be late summer, we'll probably be coming to talk to you.